This is Scott County, Minnesota, where the old and new often seem to exist in a timeless balance. It's a place where the traditional small-town value of being a good neighbor is very much alive. It's a place where people pride in their communities, and most people think it's a good place to raise a very important part of land, where townships throughout the county hold their annual meeting just as they always have.
A lot of discussion about taxes.
Oftentimes, Scott County seems like a quiet little place that time forgot.
Nothing could be further from the truth. What's happening here is nothing short of amazing. Everywhere you look, some kind of development is going on. Corporate headquarters, manufacturing facilities, houses, as well as residential. There is still a lot of tranquil countryside, never far away. The old and the new. This is Scott County, today.
Boys and girls, we've been talking about government. We've been talking about ancient civilizations and how our government started, and we've talked about the national government and the state government. Is that all there is? Betty?
Counties.
County government. Good idea. What county shall we study?
It's probably safe to say that many people who haven't had the benefit of a civics lesson lately may not really understand what a county is and all that it does. But county government affects everyone's life on a daily basis. Perhaps the most important function of a county is to be the local presence of the federal and state governments. The laws, policies, and many of the programs of those governments are enforced or implemented by the county. The elections of federal, state, county officials are supervised by the county system and are responsible for public safety through the sheriff's office and correctional facilities. Vehicles throughout the county are dispatched by the county's. The county builds and maintains most of the roads. The county also keeps the records of most of the details of life, recording births, deaths, land, and other property. Another area for the county is public health and welfare. The farmers of the county are supported by the County Extension Service and the Soil and Water Conservation Service, which assists them with good farming practices. Practically everything affecting the quality of life is impacted by the county. In many cases, it's sometimes easy to take a county government for granted. When it's doing its job well, you don't notice it.
co.scott.us.
Oh, yeah, this looks pretty cool, you guys. Hey, Ben, come on down.
When considering something as complex as county government is and how it does its job, there's a lot to talk about. But you've got to jump in somewhere, so let's start with a bit of history. Today, Minneapolis looms large on the northern horizon. It wasn't always that way. To understand where we are today, we need to go back 150 years or so. The Dakota people lived along the Wapaka, Minnesota, as they called the river. From them we got the name of the river and the name of our state, located where Murphy's Landing is today. Much of the early history of Scott County is preserved there. The first Europeans to come were trappers known as voyageurs. They copied the birch canoes of the Dakota people and soon were competing for game in the valley. Missionaries began pouring into the area. By the early 1850s, the Dakota people were being moved to reservations up the hill from Murphy's Landing. The town of Shakopee began, taking its name from the chief of the displaced Dakota village. Scott County was established by the territorial legislature of Minnesota. Over the 40 years, virtually the towns of Jordan, Belle Plaine, Prior Lake, New Prague, Savage, and New Market Elko were established. Once the railroads were in place, the county became one of the most productive grain producers in the state. The presence of grain elevators along the river are a tribute to this productivity. From those early days of getting started, Scott County grew at a modest pace while remaining primarily agricultural. By the 1930s, the county's population was still only 15,000. By the late 1950s and early 1960s, the county began to experience a surge of development with the opening of Highway 35W. Commuting to the cities and suburbs became a practical reality. One of the characteristics of that development was that most of it was residential, and Scott County was not developing the commercial industrial tax base to finance the increased demand for county services and improved highways and bridges. The river that had given the county its start originally had become a barrier to doing business on the Scott side. Something needed to change. On October 6, 1995, a development occurred that would forever change the landscape of Scott County, a change that would bring the city even closer to the county.
After 4 years of work, construction crews are finally pushing touches on the new Bloomington Ferry Bridge. The mile-long span over the Minnesota River will link Hennepin and Scott counties. This new $138 million structure will do more than bridge the floodplain of the Minnesota River. It's expected to be a conduit for change in Scott County and its rural towns, now some of the fastest growing communities in our state. Like a dam bursting after 30 years of leaking, county and city officials are preparing for a flood of development. The road links the bridge to Highway 169, and officials say it'll soon be edged with new commercial and industrial development.
Us back to Scott County today. The predicted development boom is definitely happening. Growth and change has been a constant in the county for quite some time. County Sheriff Bill Nevin is a lifelong resident who has worked for Scott County for 28 years, the past 11 of those as sheriff. When he started in 1970, his department had 15 people. It now has 105.
People used to say you can't get there from here, and that was just about the truth. The Bloomington Ferry Bridge, you can get from the airport to Bell 35 or 40 minutes. And that's a big benefit to Scott County. In 10 years, our industry can be real nice for all of us.
Besides all the new development, there's something else going on in Scott County. Scott County is probably the entertainment county in the state of Minnesota, as events that go on. The list of attractions is impressive. There's Valley Fair, Canterbury Park, Murphy's Landing, Elko Speedway and Raceway Park, the Minnesota Renaissance Festival, and the biggest draw, Mystic Lake Casino, which attracts people all year round. The county draws about 5 million visitors a year, so it's an exciting place to be, because there's a lot going on. Meanwhile, back at the website, it's time to make another decision.
The officials? Yeah, that'd be sure. That's cool. That's cool. Oh, here's another picture.
Ultimately, it is the voters of Scott County who determine what kind of government they want by electing the officials who best represent their interests. The commissioners, the sheriff, county attorney, and others are elected. The Board of Commissioners consists of 5 members representing the rural as well as the urban districts of the county. Together, they decide on all of the crucial issues. Commissioner Ralph Mulls is a farmer who represents the district around Belle Plaine.
We are generalists. It happens in county life, in county government life. We touch it in some fashion. We're not experts on any of it, but we are aware of it, and we're here to help the citizens access services or mediate a problem if we can. All citizens, we all have occupations, and when we come together in a democratic process, well, we all bring something to the table, and that's what makes our country unique.
Commissioner Barbara Marshall represents the primarily urban district around Prior Lake.
Many people think that government should work like a business.
Yes.
County government needs to do their business in the best possible way with the most efficiency, the least amount of time. Forget duplication, cut all that out, streamline anything that can possibly be done, because the sources that we've had for revenue in the past are drying up, and we need to get creative in order to make the money that we have stretch as far as we can and do the best job. So that is the focus of many people, and the fact that when you do this, you also increase service to the public.
The Board of Commissioners oversee a process which is carried out by over 500 county employees. The county administrator is in charge of operations. The administrator works with an executive team comprised of associate administrators from the divisions of the county, plus representatives from the justice system, the library system, and an elected official.
I really enjoy working with the people who work here. I think there are a lot of great individuals who work extremely hard, and it's rewarding to be in an organization where people are dedicated to public service. A large number of our long-term employees are county residents. So I think one of the benefits of that is the connection to the community that those employees have.
The employees of Scott County have developed a mission and value statement. The mission of Scott County is to deliver quality public services to all citizens in an effective, professional, and efficient manner. The statement is not just a plaque on the wall in the lobby of the courthouse. Whether you come to the courthouse in Shakopee to access services or the services come to you, you will find Scott County representatives working hard to fulfill the mission statement. This is the Scott County 911 dispatch for all emergencies in the county. If you need to call, you may be helped by Colleen Johnson, who has worked here for the past 18 years.
We're very public service oriented. We have clinics, seminars, that type of thing. We have questionnaires that have been sent out to the public asking what they would like to see for better service. I think we try to go a little extra step to help people out. I know we certainly do down here because that's just the feel that we have for the community.
Keeping Scott County's emergency vehicles, as well as the rest of its fleet, in good shape is the job of Dale Vinkemeyer, one of the mechanics in Public Works' central shop.
The importance of the work is the safety aspect of it. When we send a truck out, as everybody knows, they're heavily loaded and they go out in very rough weather, you know, and snow, blizzards. I like to make sure that whatever we do here is going to be good for the county as a whole. We like to think we save the county a lot of money, and in the long run, I'm sure we do.
Carol Brawley has worked in the Human Services Department for over 3 years. She arranges scheduling for the department's transportation service. She has also been a driver for the service.
I enjoy helping people. I think in the transportation department we take an extra mile, we go an extra mile to help people to get to and from their appointments. And I think this county is doing a wonderful job of helping people, and I'm going to be a part of it.
Janie Hufford is a public health nurse who specializes in maternal and infant care.
It's a great county to work for. I've really enjoyed it. I like the more personal approach. Our whole Human Services Department is located on one floor, and you can access more people, and everyone knows each other, and so that gives it kind of more of a homey feeling. Well, one of the things that we're working on now, and it's actually up in place, is the Scott Family Net, which is a terrific idea. It's looking at the strengths of the family and how can we keep families unified and get them services within the community.
Gary Shelton of the Sheriff's Office has had a long and productive career serving in county government.
I started with the county when I was 19. I've been with them about 20 years now. We've had a lot of ability to do some very interesting and innovative things in the field of corrections and jail, and the county has been on really the cutting edge of most of the technological advances in the corrections area. And from my perspective, it's been a great place to work, and the county is a great place to live.
I think what's unique about working at Scott County, the organization, is that you do have a blend of people that have been here 15, 20, 25 plus years, and you have upstart newcomers like myself who've been here for a little over 2 years. What's good about that is that we get to learn from the history of the county and what the organization has gone through. And at the same time, we're trying to bring in new ideas and perspective on public management, trying to make the government of Scott County work more efficiently and more effectively for its residents.
Michael Wynn is an analyst for Scott County Organizational Development. As a graduate student at the Humphrey Institute of Public Affairs at the University of Minnesota, he worked for Scott County through an internship program. After graduating, he was offered a full-time position with the county.
I think overall, Scott County is in a very sound financial condition. If you look at some of the information that's out there, over the last several years, we've held spending rate of growth to basically zero. When you put that into perspective with the fact that the population growth is just booming, overall, we've done an excellent job in keeping the spending level to where it ought to be. To that end, our debt, our future long-term debt, basically is non-existent. Other counties have, in essence, maxed out their credit cards, if you will, whereas Scott County has held this reserve that allows us to fund future infrastructure and development growth as needed.
The pressure on the county to develop new infrastructure is extreme. Scott County government is working hard to balance the increased demands created by the growth with the need to keep tax increases to a minimum. Every new development puts additional traffic on the roads. The increased caseloads in the courts has stretched the system beyond its capabilities. To alleviate the overcrowding, the county has begun work on a new justice center. The building, which is the first addition to the courthouse complex in almost 15 years, will be connected to the existing courthouse, creating a campus feeling. The move will also free up space in the old courthouse, allowing other services to create a more user-friendly, one-stop shopping approach for county residents. Scott County is a great place to live and work, and Scott County government is doing its best to help keep it that way. We create our own future, and the future looks very bright as the county continues to grow. We can treasure the old while embracing the new. We can be diligent in caring for our natural resources so they will be preserved for future generations. We can make sure our libraries and schools have sufficient resources to prepare our children to be productive citizens. We can be supportive and cooperative with businesses looking to expand and create jobs in our county, so our prosperity will be ensured well into the future. All of these things are already being done, and the results are self-evident. Scott County has always been a great place to live, but now it's becoming a great place to work for many more people. Job creation is booming. The growth is no longer limited to the river towns in the north closest to Minneapolis. The growth has reached New Prague, the southernmost place in the county, where Minnesota Valley Engineering is continuing to expand. To the west of Prior Lake, the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux community has become the largest employer in the county and is developing new businesses to complement Mystic Lake Casino. In the southwest corner of the county, Belle Plaine is the home of the new Excelsior Henderson Motorcycle Company, which will employ 500 people. The company will revive the famous motorcycle from an earlier era and carry on the tradition as one of only 2 American motorcycle companies. All this growth is not without its concerns. Just a mile or so down the road from the new motorcycle plant is the Grutzmacher farm. Wilmer Grutzmacher is now retired and living in Belle Plaine, but his son runs the farm, which was started by Wilmer's grandfather in 1864. Wilmer has seen a lot of change in his 84 years in Scott County.
Well, there's room for growth in that, but the only thing is if we get rid of too much of the farmland, we're going to run short, because they ain't making any more of it. That's the way I feel. When we get this used up, boy, that's it, fellas.
His concerns are not going unheard. With vision and planning, there will always be a place for farming and the rural tradition. This is Scott County, where there is a place for the old, the new, and everything in between.